My name is Tawanim Tim. I will be presenting to you the first question, which is what is gender according to sociologists, and then I'll also be presenting the question of a critique of the functionalist theory, functionalist view on gender.
I am Sayeshni Chetty. I will be answering the questions how do functionalists view gender and how do conflict theorists view gender, sharing it with Penelope Tkele.
I am Felicia Moodley and I will be answering the question on how do functionalist theories view gender, as well as the critique of functionalist theories' view on gender.
I am Kashmir Kassim, answering the critique of conflict theory on gender, shared with Penelope Tkele, and I will be doing the conclusion.
There is not just one or two factors that contribute massively towards what gender is, but rather an interplay of factors. We have gathered information from our various sociologists to tell us exactly what gender is. Sociologists view gender as being more fluid, in a sense that it may or may not depend upon what biological traits are. To be more specific, it is a concept that is best described by society and determines how 6 categories are managed, as well as the cultural meanings attached to men and women's roles, and how individuals understand their identities. This includes, but is not only limited to, women and men, transgender, genderqueer, as well as other gender positions. Gender involves social norms, attitudes, and activities that society deems more appropriate for one sex over another. Gender is also determined by what one individual feels and how an individual acts. Now, another sociologist, an Australian sociologist known as Raven Cornell, she further describes gender as a social structure, which is a high-order category that society uses to organize itself, basically. She further asserts that masculinities are rewarded over and above feminities. For example, men get paid much more salary or higher than the women. They enjoy more sexual and social freedom, as well as having other benefits that women do not have on the basis of their sex or their gender. She further asserts that women are being seen or have attributes such as passive, weak, incompetent. They should be nurturing, looking after the household, as well as they are gentle and sensitive. Whereas on the other hand, the men are perceived or seen as being strong, brave, independent, competitive, unemotional, and intelligent. Now if you have a look at this poster here, we have a picture of the president, and it portrays a male president. It shows, what is this telling us or showing us? It's that men are dominant, they are considered to be the intelligent to run over a country or to rule over a country. Okay? And then here we've got as well another picture of a male principal in this case. Shows them enjoying more social freedom. If you speak or hear of headmasters, it's normally males. There's no women involved. Continuing, we've got a picture that says here, a manager wanted. This means that this is an advertisement, but here it portrays or puts up a picture of a male. There's no female involved once again. And lastly but not least, it shows that the women are working in the kitchen there, whereas the males are sitting down, enjoying their cup of tea, perhaps after a hard day's work.
How do functionalists view gender? Gender differentiation contributes to overall stability in society. Example, male fulfills his role by working and supporting his family. Women fulfill her role by being supportive. Women fulfill her role by being expressive and emotionally supportive. Functionalists believe this works to the advantage of society. The view that this division of family labor ensures that important societal tasks are fulfilled and it provides stability for the family members.
Functionalists suggest that in pre-industrial societies, the manner in which social stability will be reached is by delegating different tasks to men and women. The skills of men being able to hunt, gather, and provide protection would inevitably mean that women had to adopt domestic roles. In this way, young girls were trained by their mothers to sew, cook and clean, whilst young boys were trained by their fathers to hunt, gather and provide protection, as illustrated in our examples. Men hunt, gather and provide protection, whilst women adopt domestic roles. According to Parsons 1966, functionalists suggest that in pre-industrial societies, in contemporary societies, the manner in which husband-father, he takes on the role as a provider, whilst the wife-mother plays an integral role in the emotional and nurturing aspects of the family.
Do conflict theorists view gender? According to conflict theory, society is defined by a struggle of dominance among social groups that compete for scarce resources. In the context of gender, conflict theory argues that gender best understood as men attempting to maintain power and privilege to the detriment of women. Therefore, men can be seen as a dominant group and women as a subordinate group. While certain gender roles may have been appropriate in the hunter-gatherer society, conflict theorists argue that not only reason these roles persist is because the dominant group naturally works to maintain the power and status. Social problems are created when dominant group exploit or oppress subordinate groups. Therefore, their approach is normative in that it prescribes changes to the power structure, advocating a balance of power between genders. In most cultures, men have historically held most of the world's resources. Conflict theorists see the difference in salary between men and women, with women earning less, as a result of man's historic power to devalue women's work and to benefit from women's labor. Conflict theorists argue that in a society there is struggle for power and dominance. The master-slave ideology is transferred to the household, where the male is the superior whilst the female is inferior. The household, according to Engels 1942, is an autocracy, and the supremacy of the husband-father is not questioned. I will be speaking on how conflict theorists view gender on behalf of Penelope Kele. She goes on to say, what the father says to the children they may do, for example, going out with friends, may not be in line with whatever the mother expects of the children. However, since the wife mother is inferior or subservient or subordinate, the wife mother does not express her view. According to conflict theorists, when social placement operates through patriarchal systems, the wealth of the family is concentrated in the hands of males, and father promotes female subservience, neglect and poverty. For example, the husband-father works and receives money, whilst the household labor is unpaid and associated with lack of power. The more powerful spouse performs the least amount of household work, since they have access to dominance and power.
The critique of functionalist theory's view on gender is where this model fails to apply to single parents as well as to parents who must work outside the home in order to maintain the household. Furthermore, we see that the issue is debatable when we say that men basically have to provide and protect all the time. However, we see that sometimes it is women who take on the role as being a breadwinner for the family, where she has to work and cater for the family's need. Hacker 2003 suggests that in families where women are assigned to restrictive roles, they are more unhappier in their marriages and are likely to opt out of them. Hence, it is seen that the functionalist model just does not fit the contemporary families because of the equal distribution of chores and responsibilities that need to be taken care of. This picture demonstrates the emotional aspects about facing a divorce. And this picture demonstrates a woman being the breadwinner with multiple roles. And of course, the model fails to apply to single parents who must work outside the home in order to maintain the household.
Critique, adding on to what Felicia has said on the critique of the functionalism. It also assumes that a woman's status is determined by the status of her husband. Not only that, it also assumes that when a husband or a father takes the instrumental role, he is expected to maintain the physical integrity of the family by providing food and shelter. Also, the mother has an expressive role, expected to cement relationships and provide emotional support. As you can see here, she is crying, okay? How emotional she is. She's being portrayed in a manner that shows that all she's good for is providing emotional support, okay? And cementing relationships. Women also, another critique is that women function outside the home only as a reserve labor force, meaning that they are only needed when there is a war, when it's wartime. Lastly but not least, women relegated to family roles that see them as restrictive or give them restrictive roles are more than ever likely to opt out of the relationship or even the marriage.
PCLS part on the critique of conflict theory on gender. Women take on a second shift of domestic work. Returned from work, women are denied opportunities to expand instrumental roles, offering economic power with men outside the home. Men are denied opportunities for expanding express roles inside the home. It is controversial when we articulate on the idea as men being a group that is consciously organized to keep women in subordinate positions. I will now be doing my part of the answer. Men, as the dominant gender, subordinate women in order to maintain their power and privilege in society. Society is then defined by a struggle for dominance among genders, and in society, conflict theorists view gender as being best understood as men attempting to maintain their power to the detriment of women. Therefore, their approach is normative in that it prescribes changes to the power structure, advocating a balance of power between the two genders. In most cultures, men have historically held most of the world's resources. Until relatively recently, women could not vote or hold property, making them entirely dependent on men alone. Men, like any other group with power or wealth advantage, fought to maintain their control over resources. Conflict between the two groups was then responsible for the social change.
Stop.
To conclude, the act of going beyond the current forms of conflict theorists' view on gender is very important to carry our discussion on different levels. It is also important to extend the analysis by asking questions of critical theories like who is the working class and who is being subordinated. My group and I have come to a unanimous decision in agreeing with the conflict theorist's view on gender because even though the functionalist view would seem like the so-called right one, being pleasant, looking at reality and the situations faced by both genders, we see that the conflict theory view on gender is realistic and has a stronger stance.